guys, it's a Sean Ryan show. It's a clip. He has RFK on it. Here's RFK talking about money. Isn't he like the guy for like medical? Why do they do this all the time? They interview like the wrong person. It'd be hilarious if like Sean Ryan had like Janet Yellen on, fucking talking about like, so how is it running the treasury? Did you really think you could do what you did? Oh. But yeah, Sean Ryan show, talking about bricks in the US dollar failing or some shit. This happens every 200 years. Well, it's supposed to happen every like 180 to 250 years. We're well past due. Like the bankers have been doing this since the dawn of time. We'll probably get an age of enlightenment. All our factory work and actual people feel prosperous. Our money be worth something. We just won't be backed by a lot of the world. But we have enough gold and oil and shit in our country where we're like, ta-da. We just can't let ourselves get to like El Salvador kind of like level of like not being able to protect yourself. Because the moment you can't like defend yourself, it becomes that like Orwellian kind of shit going on, and then you can't fix the dollar by like backing it with actual like resources and people like wanting it to. When they have like super soldiers that can like take out 300 people with 20 guys, and bullets don't affect them. Okay, let's start the video.
No, South America, South Africa.
Argentina is now part of it.
Last time I checked, I think it was 22.
Yeah.
At least 22 countries are now part of it, and the whole premise is to destabilize.
It's to get off the American dollar, get off dependence, because what we've done is we've used the power of the dollar as a military tool. And we've used it, for example, we're using it against Iran now, but we've used it against Russia. You know, we're...
The greatest thing you can do to topple a nation is turn a 1 to a 0. Yeah, like you turn their dollar, there's nothing. When something's worth nothing of itself, chaos happens.
And
chaos
we hold people's money because their money is basically, their Fort Knox is the United States, is our central banks. And so when they
always talk about doing an audit. I think it's like 71 or 69 or something is the last time we got an audit done in there. Hold up. So I was off by 3 years. It was 74 was the last audit for the Fort Knox. And since then, there's been speculations and conspiracy about, I believe that, I don't like to call it conspiracy, but there's no gold in there anymore. That's why, like, supposedly when Trump kept saying, like, oh, I'm going to bring back the gold standard, I don't know, like, they told him that there's not enough gold to back that. But there is everywhere else. I don't know. The Smithsonian's got a lot of gold, too. Like, let's take all that shit back and start using it. I don't know. We can bring back the gold standard. They keep saying they don't. There's enough gold and oil to bring back a standard. You don't have to have the money backed by the people the way it is. It's technically backed by nothing. It's just chattel. So, yeah. You can only trade, like, people so much.
do something bad and we then shut off their cash. And countries are just saying we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to, we're not going to use...
Hold up. Aladdin AI.
Aladdin is a BlackRock-owned, AI-driven platform used by institutional investors. It manages over $11 trillion in assets, integrating risk analysis, portfolio management, and trading. New features, like Aladdin Copilot, use generative AI to improve decision-making.
When was Aladdin AI created? Oh, it's like I said, it's 1988. They know what they're doing. So, like, when they tell us AI, like, actual logic gates for AI and how for them to work came out in, like, 18-something, like 1840 or 1860. Was that released actually one of the world fairs. But in 1988, is Aladdin was created, and that's what the S&P and all them people use to drive up all their stocks and shit. That's actually when we go. It's actually the laying down the groundwork for the New World Order, that thing, because that's actually what's gonna be like. What do they call it? It's not stockholders, stakeholders and shit. And you care about the stakeholders more than the stockholders. It's all of it's a shit show. It's just AI driven fucking gobbledygook. It's Copilot but worse. I mean, well, better. Honestly, actually thinking about it the way it's now, I fucking hate Windows.
petrodollars anymore. We're going to shift to our own currencies, or we're going to create a global currency, which is one of the things they're trying to do with BRICS. And we're going to get off the American dollar to take the power away from America. And that, if that happens, the U.S. economy will go into a free fall. So
they keep telling us to fearmonger us all, and like that's the whole point of the magic trick. Because what you get thinking about, it's like AI. Elon Musk, no one really knew what AI was at one point. Elon Musk went around saying, don't use it, it's bad. And one of the first magic tricks you can do is tell someone not to do it, and there's going to be people that do it, or look at it at least. And once you get people looking at something, they start thinking about it. When they start thinking about it, that's consciousness being hijacked, and that's manipulation of reality. That's literally magic. That's all you gotta do is change the minds of someone just enough where they could think, and the thought's there. And once the thought's in the head, the thought will become creation. That's how they do this. Him saying this aloud is going to make it happen. It's going to happen inevitably anyway. I already agree because too many people are already thinking about it. But we won't go into the thing. We're way too big of a country. There's so much going on. People are too resourceful. The sick will die first, and then like I don't see it becoming our anarchy. Like there's a lot of like the inner cities would become awful places. No one will go to them. They'll become havens for drugs and sex and debauchery and shit. There'll be like Sodom everywhere. But like the rural areas, you'll start getting like encampments and shit, and we'll actually probably start seeing actually good people come together and probably start taking over these things. But that'll become civil war, and when civil war is going on, that's what the Russia and China and all the other elites and every other country want. Because the moment America is fighting itself, we're the most distracted we'll ever be. And then they'll come over and just take over. Or if they want, they can put their own little candidates, little spawns everywhere, infiltrate structures of of our newly rising government too, completely hijack everything. Almost like a communist takeover or something.
And, it's already happening. The question is, how fast is it going to happen? And are we going to be able to put safeguards in place to avoid a massive depression that could make the Great
Hold on. My bad. I forgot dab pen out in the kitchen.
Depression look like a cakewalk.
I forgot my dab pen out in the kitchen.
You had mentioned Iraq is now a proxy to Iran.
I just added that. We have a $34 trillion debt right now. The service on that debt.
I'm pretty sure they just raised it too, the debt ceiling and everything. You can't. Okay. If you look into Japan and how their economic crash happened because of George Soros there in the 90s, and how you got like the anime business guy and all the anime we loved came out of all that depression. It was like 10 years of awful for them, and it was a lot of building, innovating, basically what we would do. But you ever seen how like subservient the Japanese are now? Well, ever since their prime minister got fucking emperor, whatever the hell it was, prime minister, he got shot during COVID, he got assassinated, and ever since then that lady's been selling them out to like immigrants and shit, have the same problem we have, some new world order bullshit. There's not another, like the last place I was probably safe was El Salvador, and that place got fucking cooked. And I bring up what was the other one? Guatemala. Oh my god. It was another one that turned into a fucking prison camp. Hold up. Venezuela. I think it was one of them. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, I think it's Venezuela. And there were another one that was kicking out, what's it called? Hold up. Give me 1 second. Okay. My fucking dumb brain. So I get things backwards sometimes. Okay. Venezuela, we already know what happened over there. El Salvador was this is the one I was talking about. That's the one that became, so we all know what happened in Venezuela, Maduro. That was the super soldier shit. Fuck that all in my head. But like, El Salvador was the other one. They became a prison colony because they were kicking out, It's pretty fucky out here, man. Like the moment you try helping your country and making it better, the world banks will turn you into a dictator, drug dealer, and I guarantee they'll come out that Maduro like diddled kids or something fucky.
The cost of servicing that debt is now bigger than our military budget. It's about $1 billion a year.
Go watch the fucked up videos of Gaddafi fucking walking through the street and how they tortured him and shit. Fucked up.
And within 5 years, 50 cents out of every dollar that we collect in taxes is going to go to servicing the debt. Within 10 years, 100%. And that's if interest rates don't rise. if interest rates rise, that happens much faster. We added another $1 trillion to debt in the last 100 days.
See?
President Biden and President Trump.
I was just saying they raised the debt ceiling. There goes again with the Japan thing. I got off track. They did I hit play? I'd be so sad. Okay, cool. They did this. They devalued the money and they kept raising the debt ceiling and shit. And then now it's how yen looks the way it does. Or any of those Asian countries. A lot of them all have that monopoly-looking money where the zeros go on forever, and they're still using that currency because it completely didn't devalue like Zimbabwe money. But like, it could happen. You can go like Weimarks and shit like that. Like, go to get a cup of coffee. By the time you turn around, it's $500 for a fucking cup of coffee.
Are the guys who are most responsible
I
for
don't think
that.
Venezuela
President
is
Trump
a
during
fucking
his 4 years added $8 trillion to the debt. That's more money than was spent by every administration from George Washington to George W. Bush. Every administration before him, 283 years of history, he spent more in 4 years. And then he shut down all the businesses at the same time. So, and then Biden continued those policies, the lockdowns, and then, and this, absurd spending, which...
Why didn't they bring back the, what's it called? Oh my God, is it being recorded? I hope it's loud enough. We'll find out. Like, why am I bringing back the pipeline and the fucking wall? Like, Trump came back. It's been a year now. Didn't he say he was going to go right back to what he was doing before? My gas is just as expensive as it was before, if not more. Like, it came down a little bit, and it's going back up. It's all... Why don't we pump our own... Russia can literally be cut off by the whole world and still function. We get cut off by the littlest thing, like fuel. We will go into shambles. Like, the grid's not good. Why don't we mine for coal? They're bringing back copper mining, though. Yay. So, copper sulfur mining.
Which is unsustainable, and neither of them are talking
Strip
about it.
mining, too.
And we need, to start talking about it, and we need to. The big problem with the debt is the chronic disease epidemic, which is now costing us $4.3 trillion a year, which is 5 times our military budget, and then the military budget. Military budget is about $890 billion. But if you include...
Where did all that money go that went missing in 9/11? Where the other... There's so much money missing.
The cost of the wars, which is, $300 billion in veterans administration, and then all the national security costs, it's about $1.3 trillion a year. And we have to cut that. We can no longer afford to be the policemen of the world. It's not helping us. It's hurting us in every way.
Can you go into a little detail on who we owe the debt to? Who
A
do
lot
we
of
owe
the debt
that
is
to?
owned by China. A lot of it is owned by Japan. They're in as much trouble as we are because, they don't want that debt to crash either. But China is now switching away from the dollar. And
Most of all our debt is to China. They're getting away from the dollar because they're trying to destabilize us. Like, their people are different from the actual CCP, but like, if I was them, this is a great way to do it. Like, they got us hooked on, like, a bunch of people hooked on fentanyl and like other weird synthetic drugs that they run a lot of the cartels around here, but they tell you it's Mexicans. Like, it's all facade. They're killing everybody on one level or another. And the worst one is, like I said, economically, where we can't even have like our own businesses and like shit. By that I mean like warehouses and shit, like jobs that actually will be like worth going home and going to. Not like you go to your job at the fulfillment center at Amazon is on, and you have to work 11 hours at a time, and you have to do it like over 5 days a week. So they're getting like an extra 5 hours, like extra 15 hours in a normal work week out of you. Like, I did that math wrong. Fucking retard. The extra 5 hours. Actually, wait, hold on. It's like 8 hours a day. Holy shit! Actually, they're getting a good 15 hours. I was right.
They're all trying to get away from the bomb, to get out of the splatter zone before the bomb goes off. And a lot of the debt is just to U.S. investors and banks and investment houses who have purchased U.S. bonds. I mean, I owned I own a certain amount of bonds, treasury bonds, right? And
Oh, I don't even think about that. Like people have like bonds and shit that work on the U.S. dollar. Those all get like not defrauded, but they become useless. Like some people will buy them afterwards, but they're not worth as much as they're supposed to be.
that I bought some of them after, after I won I was part of the team that won the Monsanto case, and I got a little bit of cash, and I put some of that in bonds. Well, so some of that debt is owed to me. So but I think the biggest creditor is China.
See?
You had mentioned Iraq is becoming a proxy to Iran. I'm a former special ops guy, spent a lot of time in Iraq, a lot of time in Afghanistan, and so I have a lot of ties within that community still, and I've heard rumors that we will be going back to Iraq already.
What did Trump promise everybody? No wars, no this shit. Like I said, that's never believe these people. Never believe anything they tell you. Never believe a politician. Oh, he did it the first time around. He didn't do anything anyone wanted before. It just happened to work out, and then a lot of people liked it. Like, I don't know, man. They're fucking us. Because if the dollar turns to shit, like, everyone's like, oh, crypto. Crypto's backed by the U.S., basically, man. Even if it destabilizes, is BRICS going to take the crypto like that? Like, could they just be dicks and make us all pay a tariff for doing exchanges and shit? Like, there's a bunch of weird shit they can do to dick us more.
Because of the stuff going
on. We
on.
don't know if the next person holding the whip hand is going to whip us harder. Because we're pretty much dickheads what we're doing right now. We're making it so whoever does go in the next power, they're going to fucking beat us. We are Amalek, I guess.
Israel, Iran getting involved. I mean, it was. I don't think it was ever stabilized. But do you have any insight on that?
No, I mean,
we're sending our guys back into another country where we've abandoned lots of weapons.
Listen, we have 800 bases around the world. China has one base. Russia has 1.5. We have 800, and each one of them is, an opportunity for a new little war. And of course, you have, the big military contractors, Northrop Grumman and Boeing and Lockheed and General Dynamics and, these others. They're all owned by one company, which is BlackRock. And BlackRock has the contracts to destroy Ukraine, and it has the contract to rebuild Ukraine. So, and it's one of the biggest owners of the Republican and Democratic Party. And the Ukraine war is really about the...
That's all I'm going to say, man. I got my last video taken down. I'm just saying, we know who it is and who controls Ukraine. Who has a big stake in a bunch of those weird seedy labs they have over there for all their fucking weird adrenochrome bullshit and all that weird other body harvesting stuff. Girls over there have undocumented babies all the time and they just give them up. There's a whole bunch of fruity shit going on in that country. It's all going back to the people with the tiny hats.
The expansion of NATO. We wanted to put NATO and President Putin and every president before him have said that's a red line. You can't put NATO in Ukraine. The Russians have been invaded 3 times.
All they want is an area. They just don't want to get into the sea. And I get there's a couple of reasons why. But at the same time, the people who live in that country want to be a part of Russia. What the fuck? Ukraine's just sending old people and retards. I don't think there's anything left for the front lines over there. I think they're just sending Americans over there and they're just lying. They already admitted to doing that, basically. We're not fighting over there. Yet we have people over there. We're sending them all the weapons, all the money. It's a proxy war again. We're in a proxy war, and it all comes down to every proxy war we ever had since I was a kid and before I was even born, is they take that money and they funnel it into their own pockets somewhere or another. Someone's taking money somewhere, and half the money that's going to there isn't really going there. Probably not even a quarter of it. It's just like they figured out with Ukraine. A lot of that money's just getting lost when it goes over there. Zelensky's like, I'm not getting any of the money. What the fuck?
Ukraine. Last time, Hitler killed 1 out of every 7 Russians. oh, we've never experienced an invasion like that. Russians haven't. Everybody remembers it. And they don't want a foreign enemy army in Ukraine. And particularly, they don't want an army with nuclear weapons. And, we have put on nuclear-ready systems.
This is going to turn into one of those things. They've already been doing it. This is how they destroy Tartarian buildings all the time. All the old world buildings, they just destroy them through war like this, systematically picking out which ones they want to destroy, which buildings. Germany was going to happen. They carpet bombed all the big cities. They did it purposely to destroy all the old shit. They buried all the bells.
These Aegis missile systems that Lockheed made and makes in Romania and Poland, so we made those NATO country. Why do we want to go into NATO? Here's one of the reasons. Why do we want every country in Europe? We promised in 1992 when Gorbachev said, I'm going to remove the walls in Europe. I'm going to allow you, the West, to reunite Germany under NATO, and I'm going to move out 450,000 Soviet troops from Germany, from East Germany, and I'm going to allow you to march NATO soldiers into their barracks. Okay, he could never go back to Russia after that. He went back, but he was despised. Nobody went to his funeral. But he did it because he wanted to end the Cold War. But he said, I want one promise from you before I do this. He said this to James Baker, to President Bush at that time, and to John Major. He said, I want one promise, which is after I give you Germany, you cannot move NATO you cannot move NATO to the east until all the other countries we're going to march out of. James Baker, who was the Secretary of State, famously told Gorbachev, we will...
Trying to listen to him is such a fucking struggle for me. Holy shit.
will not move NATO 1 inch to the east.
Will not move NATO 1 inch.
And in 1997, Zbigniew Brzezinski, who was the first of the neocons, says, okay, here's a plan. He publishes a plan for moving NATO into every former Soviet territory. And people go crazy at that time. George Kennan, who is the most important diplomat in modern American history, who was the architect of the containment policy during the Cold War, he said, if you do that, you're going to turn Russia into an enemy. You should be treating it as a friend. You should be welcoming it to the global...
Hey, first time around when Trump was over here, he was talking with Putin and stuff, when it was his first run, I'm not gonna lie, I got mad excited. Thinking, I used to make jokes with my friends, like, dude, if Russia and America team up against everything, it'd be fucking cool. Which is how politics works. But it's like, there'd be so much cool shit. Hopefully, they would probably suppress everything. I don't know. But a lot less Israeli control over here.
Community. And
none of that anymore.
and using it as a bulwark against Chinese expansion. Kissinger said that. George Kennan said that. George Kennan said, if you do this, you're going to force Russia into a violent response. Bill Pierce, who was then the Secretary of Defense, threatened to resign to Clinton. He said, if you do this, I'm going to resign. It's so destabilizing to move NATO to the east. Bill Perry, who was then, and Bill Pierce is now the head of the CIA. Bill Perry, who was then the U.S. ambassador to the Soviet Union, said the same thing. He said, you're forcing Russia into ultimately a violent response if you keep moving NATO to the east. What do? We did it anyway. Why do we want to move NATO to the east?
They want war.
There's all kinds of geopolitical reasons that the neocons want to drive because they like conflict. But, the big reason is that when a new country signs onto NATO, it has to then change all of its weapons specifications, weapons purchases to NATO specifications, which means it has to buy all of its weapons from Lockheed, Boeing, General Dynamics, and Northrop.
It's a racket. It's like picturing mobsters offering you help, and now that you're under the help, you have to follow the rules in order to get the help. And I think one of the main things is no nuclear energy or weapons is on for most of them.
Grumman and the U.S. military contractors that are all owned by BlackRock. So there's this economic imperative to drive NATO into all of these new countries. And, Putin said again and again, if you go in there, we are going to have to fight back. What do we do? In 2014, the CIA goes in with USAID and overthrows the elected government of Ukraine. And we put in a Western government. The Undersecretary of State, Victoria Nuland, who's the top neocon at that time, we now have a tape of her talking to the U.S. ambassador a month before the coup, hand-picking the cabinet that would replace the neutral government with a pro-Western government. So then we go in there, we overthrow their elected government, we put in a government that's sympathetic to us. Putin immediately says, oh, well, now they're going to put the U.S. fleet in Vladivostok, which was Russia's, for 340 years, their only southern port. That's where the Soviet fleet is, which is in Crimea. And he says, so he said, if you do this, we're going to go into Crimea. He goes in Crimea. He doesn't fire a shot because the people of Crimea have always wanted to be back with Russia. They voted 90 to 10.
I said that earlier too. He's just like reassuring what I just said.
Russia, and then he says, and then there's a revolution. There's in this new government comes in and basically illegalizes the Russian language. There used to be two languages in Ukraine.
See, I was just saying, one half speaks Ukrainian, the other speaks Russian. They want to be a part of there. They still got they rep it all day long over there. Like
Russian, Ukrainian. Now they say, no, the official language is now Ukrainian. You can't speak Russian. We don't teach it in the schools, etc. And they begin enacting these other oppressive mandates against the Russian, ethnic Russians in Donbass. And,
see, it's like I said, it's all around the Balkans bullshit. Like,
and so there are protests in Donbass. Those protests turn violent.
They just went into the water.
The question
channels,
is, why did they turn violent?
Better cargo.
The assumption is there's right-wingers.
If you notice one thing too, like Putin's been like the only one just chilling there. Like he's taking the defense. He's just like, dude, stop. This is like what Mustache Man was doing. He's like, I begged you guys to stop. You gave me no other reason.
In the new government that we put in, who killed 14,000 people from Donbass and Lugansk. And so Putin says, look, I'm going to go in there. Donbass and Lugansk vote to join Russia, the Russian Federation. Putin says, I don't want you. You stay with Ukraine, but here's a proposal. And he gives what is called the Minsk Accords, which Germany approves of, France approves of, and UK approve of. And the Minsk Accords say, we're going to keep NATO out of Ukraine. We're going to give Donbass and Lugansk autonomy, just like Montreal, Quebec, part of Canada. You'll still be part of Ukraine, but you'll be able to keep the Russian language. And then he also asked to denazify some of the, denazify the new government that we had put in to remove some of the extreme right wingers. And all of these nations approve of this agreement. And Zelensky runs in 2019, and he's an actor and a comedian, no political involvement at all. He runs on one issue. I'm going to sign the Minsk Accords and there's going to be peace with Russia. He wins 70% of the vote. So, overwhelmingly, the people wanted peace. They wanted that agreement. Suddenly, he gets in office and he pivots, and he says, I'm not going to sign it. Why did that happen? There's two assumptions. We don't know, but there's two assumptions. One, he was threatened by right-wingers within his own government. Two, the United States, Victoria Nuland told him he couldn't sign it. So Putin then sends in 40,000 troops.
No matter where you're watching the shot.
Well, that's that. I don't feel like fighting the whole thing. Yeah. Have a good day, everybody.